Hello viewers, and welcome back to the channel for another video. Those of you who've been following my videos, thanks for subscribing and watching. Any new viewers, well, welcome. This one's going to be slightly different. It is motorcycle related, but it's a prelude to a trip that I'm planning starting in a couple of weeks. And it is based around motorcycles. So what's the story? Well, back in 2017, a mate of mine, Mark, and I went to the Isle of Man for the TT races for race week, and been planning on going back ever since, and finally convinced Mark and a couple of other friends, Pat and Megan, to come with me. So we're heading off in a couple of weeks to go to Isle of Man for race week. We'll be staying in a place called Peel. We've organised an Airbnb there, and that just basically I think we arrive on the Friday and the racing finishes in the following Saturday. So Mark and I decided that going over there for a week is not really viable, so we were looking for something else to do afterwards. And a friend of mine had been on a motorcycle tour around Europe with a company called OzAlps, run by an expat Australian. And we looked into that and investigated the tours that were available, and it just so happens that there is a tour leaving on the Monday after the Isle of Man from Munich. So that tour goes from Germany down through Austria, into Slovenia, down into Croatia, back up into Slovenia, a quick black through Austria, then back up to Munich over around about, I think, 13 days. So fairly small group, it'll be about 12 of us, all Australians. And my plan is to use my iPhone and also a chin-mounted GoPro to record as much as I can of that trip. There's some amazing mountain passes that we'll be travelling over, and then head back to Australia. So I'll be gone for about 3.5 weeks. So this is just a bit of an intro as to what's coming up. And I'll wait until I get back from the trip before I edit any of the footage together and put together some reels of where we've been, a bit of Isle of Man footage. Won't be riding, I'll just be spectating over there, and then some hopefully some good footage of our trip around Europe. So let's have a bit of a look at the details. So the first part of this trip, Mark and I leave from Sydney, Australia. We fly through Dubai and land in Dublin in Ireland. That's where we meet up with our friends Pat and Megan, who've been doing some other exploring of Europe. After a short stop and maybe a Guinness or two in Dublin, then we have a short flight from Dublin across to Isle of Man. Now, if you don't know where Isle of Man is, it's right in the middle of the Irish Sea, in between the UK mainland and Ireland. Now, the Isle of Man is most famous for the Isle of Man TT, or Tourist Trophy, which is a series of races that happen every year in the last week of May, first week of June. So there's a week of practice, and then a week of races culminating in the senior TT at the end of the week. This has been happening on the Isle of Man since 1907, so it has a long history. The reason it started was that the UK mainland had banned racing on public roads, and so the TT started up on the Isle of Man, has been running ever since. Now, as I say, the racing happens on public roads, so the roads are closed to the residents that usually drive these roads at 30 miles an hour, and are open to the various classes of motorbike and sidecars that partake in the races. That'll do anything up to 200 miles an hour at points around the track, which goes through various small towns, literally right past people's front doors. It starts in Douglas, which is the main town of Isle of Man, goes through various other towns, up and over the top of the mountain, and then back down to Douglas, which is a distance of 37.75 miles. So anybody who can do that sort of distance these days in around about 17 minutes is doing a very fast pace. I think the current lap record is an average speed of 135 point something miles an hour. Now, we'll be missing practice week, but we'll be there for race week, which starts on Saturday the 1st of June. Now, there's various classes of bike that race around the TT course. There's the Super Twin, the Super Sport, the Super Stock, the Super Bike, and there's also the sidecars as well. So over the week, they have various races ranging from anywhere from 2 laps up to 6 laps, which is the senior TT race using the super bikes. So we'll be watching the racing from various vantage points around the track over the week, moving to different places every day to get a bit of a different perspective, from small towns or small pubs to getting up on top of the mountain as well. Now, having been there before, it's an incredible spectacle, which is why it's touted as one of the best motor racing events in the world. Now, if you can't get there, for the past few years, they have actually been broadcasting the footage live online. So if you go to TT Plus and sign up there for a nominal fee, you can actually watch all the racing. I'll try and remember to put a link down below in this video. So if you're interested, you can watch it and then maybe go next year. Right, so once all that excitement is finished, we wave goodbye to our friends Pat and Megan and the Isle of Man. And Mark and I jump on a plane and fly from Isle of Man across to London and then across to Munich to start our OzAlps tour. So we have a night in Munich to settle in, explore Munich a little bit, maybe have a beer or two, and then the next morning we get picked up by the OzAlps team and driven to a place called Schongau, which is about an hour southwest of Munich, and that's where OzAlps has its headquarters. Obviously, then we'll get to meet all of our fellow travellers and catch up over dinner and a few more beers, I guess. So the next morning, we finally get to meet the bikes that we'll be using on the trip, fill out all the legal paperwork, etc. These bikes are all BMW X-Demonstrator bikes, so fairly low mileage and fairly current versions, I'd imagine. So there's various bikes you can choose from. If you want to check the OzAlps website, you can see the options there. Mark and I have chosen the F900XR, which is a 895cc inline 2-cylinder, produces 99 horsepower, 88 newton meters of torque, and this was recommended by Cliff, the guy who runs OzAlps, as a really good option for the sort of riding that we'll be doing. We get a single top box to put all our gear in, so we'll leave the rest of our stuff back at their base and try and travel fairly lightly, since that's all the luggage space that we'll have. So after practicing a bit on our new bikes and riding on what we call the wrong side of the road around Schongau, the next day we finally take off on the first full day of travelling. So we head down towards a place called Bad Tolz on the German autobahns.
and then eventually onto a road called the Deutsch-Alpenstraße that flows basically along the Austrian-German border and heads us to our first overnight stop in Berchtesgaden. After an overnight stop, on day 4 we head back along the Deutsch-Alpenstraße a bit. We cross the border into Austria and then head up the Grossglockner Pass at 2,500 metres. Apparently fantastic conditions, sweeping cornered road. Up the top we go up the Edelweiss Spitz with some cobblestone hairpin turns, etc. And then back down the Grossglockner and then over to the Eiselberg Pass at 1,000 metres. Then we finally head west towards the Kartische Sattel at 1,400 metres, along some brand new sections of road, and then head to our overnight stay in Kotschach. Apologies to any German speakers if I'm murdering the pronunciations of some of these towns, but I'm doing my best. Day 5, we have a few passes to go on. We go up the Galsberg Saddle at 1,100 metres, then on to the Kreuzberg Saddle, 1,100 metres again, and then over the Wurzen Pass at 1,500 metres. Here we cross the border into Slovenia and then ride down alongside Lake Bled to our final overnight destination of Mostna. Day 6, we travel over some Slovenia roads, over the mountains towards Tolmin, and then head along more Slovenian roads towards a town called Postojna. After that, we cross the border into Croatia, through some small country towns, and then on to our final destination for the day of Punat on the island of Otto Kirk. Day 7 is a rest day in Punat, where we can lounge around, go for a swim in some of the secluded beaches, and discuss some of the previous day's riding before we head off the next day. So day 8, we leave Punat, head up some Slovenian freeways and back up towards the border of Italy. And we finish the travel day with a run along next to the Soka River and finish up overnight stay in Tolmin in Slovenia. Day 9, we leave Tolmin and go up the Passo Padril at 1,500 metres and cross the border into Italy. We go through the Passo Sella Nevia at 1,500 metres and then lunch at a town called Empezzo. Then after lunch we head the Passo di Muria at 1,800 metres, then down the Passo Tre Croci, down into our overnight stay in Cortina di Ampezzo. Once again, apologies for my pronunciations. Day 10 is another rest day in Cortina, so you can either rest and appreciate the Italian cuisine or go for some short rides around Cortina. Day 11, and we're getting towards the end of the trip. So we leave Cortina via a few passes, the Falzarago, then the Valporia, and then the Wurstjoch, all at around 2,100 metres. And then we cross the border back into Austria. And at that point we have 3 different routes to get to our final destination on day 11 of Seefeld. Day 12 is our final day of riding. It's basically a short trip back into Germany, along the autobahns and back to Schongau, which is where we started. Give the bikes back, and then the next day, on day 13, we get transported back to Munich, and that's the end of this fantastic tour. So this is my Shui GT Air that I'll be wearing on this trip. It has a Cardo 4X mounted on the side, and I've
put a chin mounted GoPro 8 on there with a media mod, which allows you to plug in an external microphone. So what I've done is I've used the microphone from the Cardo, and then I've spliced this cable in. So basically I got a single microphone in the helmet that you can use for the Cardo and the GoPro, and that seems to work okay. I've added a couple of little rubber things on here, so it just makes it a bit easier to press those buttons when you've got your gloves on while you're riding along. Theoretically, these have voice control, but I found that, yeah, sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. So rather than just riding along trying to talk to your GoPro, I can just simply press this button here and it'll start videoing, and then I can do the commentary and then press it again to stop it. So hopefully that all works out okay. So that's it, folks. Well, that's the plan anyway. Let's see how it all works out. Really looking forward to this trip. It'll be great fun. First of all, watching the racing on Isle of Man, and then jumping on a bike and touring all these great alpine passes around Europe. So yeah, if you're interested in this sort of stuff, then subscribe, and I'll be away for most of June, so expect to have some sort of posts and footage from my trip, maybe in July sometime. Hopefully have enough for a couple of, say, 20-minute videos showing where we've been and the people we meet. So yeah, thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing. For those of you, hit the bell icon if you want to get notification when I update some footage from this trip. And I will put the link to OzAlps in the description down below. So if you want to get in touch with Cliff, who runs it, for some of his tours, he does multiple tours per year. And he's been doing it for 15 years, so he really knows where to go and where all the great roads are. So anyway, I'll see you when I get back. Ciao.